where we're making the chicken jockey from the Minecraft movie. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. It's cute. It's adorable. It's my type of cup of tea, guys. Then from there, I'm just gonna add in a cube. We'll scale that guy up, and then we're just gonna select the two edges, just because we're gonna do a corner back there. I'm gonna just grab that, and bring that up. All right, so this is gonna be kind of our world that we're living in. You know, I don't know too much. I probably could pull up the video to see more of like what that background looks like, but honestly, it doesn't seem too complicated. They've got a few different like beveled edges of squares and stuff like that going on there. So I might just put in some additional edge loops here. I'll do 7 cuts, I suppose, and then let's do the same over here. Just right click that so that way everything is centered, and then we're gonna do the same thing here. We're just gonna do 7 cuts. It's looking good, though. I probably don't want. Let's make it sure that we're doing squares here. And then swapping over to like a face select mode. Here's what's the really cool thing about it. If we then, I think you can select all of the faces that are going to be on the background. And if we extrude them and then scale individual origins. Can we not? 1 second. Is it Alt E? Can you extrude individual faces? Yeah, individual faces. And then scaling each one of those down. So Alt E is the answer, guys. And then we're probably going to just bring those out, right? Let's grab that on individual. Let's see, those are all individuals right now. Let's do global normals. Yeah. So if we grab that on the Z-axis for all of these, we're just going to bring them out slightly. Just not too much, just a little bit. And then let's scale each one of those down again, individual origins. We're just treating everything individually because I'm feeling pretty good about it. Let's just set the cursor over here. And I'm just going to make a new cube. We'll just go ahead and scale down. And we'll just grab this face, honestly. All the way up. Just want a little bit more of a corner going on there, guys. Great. Now let's get things started with the save button, guys. All right, we're going to bevel this edge here, and let's just increase that a little bit more. And then honestly, on everything here, we're just going to kind of bevel everything a little bit. So from now, let's go ahead and just place this cursor here in the center, and we're going to create a new cube. I think if we scale this out, we're trying to really create like the elevated position of that fight. What is it? Fighting pin, fighting square. What do what do they call that? What is that? It's the gambles in my head now. The boxing arena. It was that thing. I'm just gonna grab this just because it's gonna bother me that it goes so far down. Rink. Yes, gambling rink. It's the boxing rink, guys. You do gamble when boxing. Like that is a thing, all right? They do that all the time. But that is not what we're talking about here. That is not at all what we're talking about. Let's also look up kind of what this chicken jockey. Okay, that's just a really thick post almost. Just gonna rough this out, and then we can always add more detail to this later, guys. Probably thinking about that size. Oh, you know what? It is off the sides here. Let's just line this up a little bit. I don't want it to be perfect, otherwise we could have literally put it exactly on the corner. And then let's grab that whole edge there, and we're just gonna bring that up. Probably about to there, honestly. And what I'm kind of noticing is that they have a bit of beveling going on. And then now let's go ahead and add in a few edge loops. And let's go here and let's turn on that. That way you get a little bit of a bevel. And then honestly, at this point, we're probably just going to add in some edge loops here and then grab that. We just want to not make it so perfect. We're going to do the same to the other side. All right. It's just like loosening it up a little bit. Let's work on something a little bit easier that I for sure know exists. Let's grab this whole thing. Let's just grab it all and move it a little further out, okay? And then I'm also going to add in another cube here. Scale that in. I like this kind of like column like thing that they've got going on here. Okay, let's just grab that, scale that out, and then we've got ourselves a nice little pedestal column thing. Let's grab that all out a little bit further. And I'm just going to join that. That way it's its own object. Grab that, move that over here. Let's take this and we're just going to delete these vertices. And then it's going to kind of go off in that direction. So we're going to just extrude that on the... Oh, no. Didn't realize it was selecting everything here. So you do got to pay attention, Connor. And we're just going to extrude everything from there, that direction. So if we extrude that outwards on the x-axis, we're going to get ourselves like a separate kind of almost like walkway thing going on. All right, let's select the bottom thing here. We'll do cursor to select it, and that's just going to help us in a moment. What we need to do is select all of the vertices here And if we scale this on the cursor to 0, and not that we're ever going to see that, but now that we know it's not there, it's not a problem. And that makes my life a lot happier in the end. Individual origins. I'm just going to make that go further out. Just bring that. We're just making it puffy, guys. Adding modifiers, subdivide surface. I forgot which button it was. There is a shortcut I thought for it. Just kind of make that work. Oh, that is. I might add another subdivision. Pretty good. I'm going to scale these down on individual origins. That's looking good, guys. And that's good. Let's do like another subdivide. 2 months on a chicken? Dang, I know. That's what I'm saying. That can't be like right. If my numbers are correct, because I get like quoted these things whenever I'm working on projects, I think that it's probably about, I want to say like 3 weeks to make one of these. And then see, that's 4. Select the individual faces. Oh, you know what? These 2 faces. These. What, guys? What? All right. And then we extrude all of those outwards. And then we extrude them out again. And you got yourself a nice looking something post. Like, that's just how easy it is. All right. I mean, I don't make the rules. Let's bring that down, and then we're just going to keep duplicating it. So that way we've got a few of those around our rink post thing. All right. We're going to rotate that. All right. We're going to go here. I'm just going to duplicate that downwards. Add a few rings in here. Grab that, and then we're going to use that. Just kind of get a little bit of sag in there. Yeah, no, dude, texting language was very interesting because I didn't have a cell phone until I was 17. Was when I got a cell phone. I mean, I had like a family phone where it had like paid text messages on it, where because it wasn't unlimited text messaging, and that I did have for a bit. But you know, it's like you're not playing games on it. Like I remember, dude. Okay, I remember my mom's BlackBerry phone where you could play Pong. I think it was Pong or Brick Breaker. It was Brick Breaker. We played Brick Breaker on, dude. So much fun, dude. Like that was honestly, I just didn't think that games could get cooler on the phone than that. Let's scale that down, bring it down in. Hey, great. Honestly, that's looking pretty sweet. I'm just going to bevel it up a little bit. Going to bring that in. We're just going to get a nice little thingy thing to make it look less rigid, guys. All right, let's set the camera up. So that way we've got like a nice camera angle to work with here. Probably something like this. Go ahead and first of all, we'll do vertical split here. And then that way we've got a camera view. And then in our viewport display here, we'll just go ahead and make it so that there's no pass-through. So you can actually see what we're doing. Now inside of here, we can then rotate our camera and get everything kind of set up. Thinking we'll do a little bit of a low angle here. We are small and right up on that chicken, guys. Let's do a really rough like thing where the chicken jockey is gonna be. All right. So I'm just gonna add in a cube here. Great. So that cube right there, we're just gonna call this reference. Okay, so under our camera collection here, we're going to go ahead and create a new empty. We're going to create this new plain empty. We'll just put it right in this area. We're going to call this focus. This will allow us to just set the camera focus to a specific spot. And then you can animate where that empty is in relation to the camera if you want to change the focus. Very useful if you want to have a camera move, but you want to have the focus always on the actor's eyes. Inside of your camera settings, inside of your properties, we're going to go and scroll down to the depth of field option. Make sure that's checked. We're going to select focus inside of here. You can select your actor, but I always find that it's a little bit easier to set the focus on an empty and move that around. All right, I'm going to turn on depth of field just so we could see that over here, just to see how much depth of field we're really doing. Looks pretty accurate to our reference image that we have. And then our actor's going to be standing right there. Probably lower these torches a bit. And voila, guys, I think that looks pretty good. Obviously, we're doing like a 16:9 aspect ratio instead of a square aspect ratio. So there is that. Obviously, this is a cube, so it's pretty close because all the characters are pretty cubish, but in our particular case, we're going to want to change that. Now, what does the zombie look like when he's dropping out of the air? Okay, so his head there's like no neck. Okay, great. Well, we already 3D modeled pretty much our entire environment here. I mean, we're not seeing the roof. We're not seeing the ceiling. So let's see. So let's turn off proportional editing, but okay, that's fine. And then So we're going to extrude that down. Let's delete the faces on it, though. Delete that vertice. But now let's scale that down. Pretty sweet. It's like a wall. Probably then also for that edge, let's go ahead and just line it up there. Just grab this vertex, extrude that out as well, and then we can just fill in these. That way we've got a bit of a roof just in case we ever need to see it. Probably up about, probably about right there. I'm gonna just grab these outside faces here. We'll just go ahead and extrude them and scale them out slightly. I just want to give a nice little ground bevel that we're working with. Don't really need these other corners, so I'm not too concerned about that. And let's also swap over into the Cycles render engine, because everybody knows a really good animated film always looks good in Cycles. What do we got? We were looking for some torches, really. That's kind of what we're going for. We're just going to make ourselves like a quick flame here, guys. Okay, we're going to call this Fire 1. And now we're going to open up a new window here, okay, guys? Inside of this new window, I'm going to swap this over to a shader editor. I do like to have a second window open. It just makes things a little bit easier when I am making adjustments. I'll go ahead and put that in camera view, and you'll notice that everything is very dark. That's because we have 0 lights inside of our scene right now. Now, inside of here, we just have our principal BSDF, and that is supposed to be our light that we have. And we're going to go ahead and open up a new image texture. Go ahead and open that up. It's going to load in the 3D work, but I just downloaded the thing to our assets folder. So I'm going to just grab that real quick. Right now, it's currently set frames to 1, but we can change our start frame to be wherever we want, and we can make that adjustment that way. The other thing to note is that we need to set up our UVs here. Currently, we're using UV, and probably need to select our whole face here. And let's just do a nice U. We'll do unwrap, and then let's just do smart UV project, unwrap that guy. Now, if we go over into like a UV editor, you'll see that open. We've got our burning debris video that we've loaded in. And that is pretty blank right now. And I think it's because, oops, let's go back to our layout. I think it's because it's loaded in as a UDIM texture. So we're going to actually close that, open up our video file again. Let's find that asset again. Burning, and then let's just make sure in the settings, not going to detect UDIMs. And we're just going to open that image as a video image, which is going to be transparent. So this is going to be our frames there. That is frame 1. And it's using our UV textures that are loaded in now. Preview is currently fully black. Why is that? See, that's an sRGB texture, which is totally cool. We're going to use an emission. I'm going to actually plug that into the color of the emission. And let's see. I think now we can actually just load that 2K texture. Perfect. And then also, you'll notice that there's a blackness around that texture. And we just need to have a transparent, a mix shader. Just select that in there. Probably swap these two inputs right now. And then the alpha gets plugged into the FAC, the factor. And then that is going to make it so that the fire is the only thing that is emitting light. Now, all we have to do is adjust the strength of this fire, and that's how bright that fire is going to be in comparison to everything else, how much it's going to light up the world. Okay, great. Let's take this now, and we're just going to duplicate it. Move it over here. I'm going to rotate that like so. And this new one, let's see. Okay, great. That's pretty cool with the lighting there as far as the flames go on that. We don't actually have to call it Fire 1. We could have just called it like Fire or Torch or something like that. We're just basically changing the UVs. And theoretically now, when the video actually plays, whoops, I probably shouldn't have done that. Let's join these together. Now when the video plays, the fire will actually be moving in the scene. So that's actually really good. It's a very easy way of getting some nice assets into your shots and without having to do too much work. The lighting now, though, I mean, you'll notice that we've got like this really nice kind of like environmental lighting going on here. Let's open up HDRI Haven. Let's just get some like, I want to get some nice general lighting. We're going to create some specific lighting ourselves, but I like to get the color space kind of correct, you know, like the world in which we're living in. Maybe creepy bathroom is the answer. We're going to try creepy bathroom. I just got to do it, man. All right, so that's getting closer to that. Let's swap that over to GPU. It gives us like kind of like a nice rough lighting of what we're going for here. But we're gonna customize quite a bit of stuff here too, because like we want some more, you know, uplights on this back wall here. Probably add in like a 3D cursor down there, and we can. What I like to do is just start adding in my favorite light inside of Blender, which is some nice area lights. I like to get a little creative with these, you know, sometimes. We're gonna go ahead and just scale that down over here. We're just gonna only be affecting these back walls. Once we add in like, creatures and whatnot, we'll have those in a separate collection. But to keep those separate, let's keep this collection up here called set. I'm going to create a little bit more of a warm kind of like background. And we really don't know until we start adding materials in how warm everything is. And that makes it a little bit more challenging to set up the lights before you have things textured. For me, it's more about the brightness values that we're kind of giving stuff. We're really trying to create kind of like, more of this like dangerous environment that these our heroes are inside of at this moment. And so having a lot of these like deep shadows from an up angle is kind of creepy. Inside of our shader panel here, let's add in a hue. What is the best way to do this? We have a constant or RGB. Let's grab an RGB and then set the value to a red. And then we're going to use a mix color node before that color. And this can just get put directly in there. Although I suppose we could have just changed the value there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a multiply. Just keep that value all the way up there. This will allow us to adjust how much red we want on these flames. All right, and then in this foreground here, I mean, we kind of know that what we also want is more top-down, kind of like directional lighting on this entire rink location. I'll probably lift that up a little bit further. And then it's going to feel more like there's a light directly above them that maybe is even slightly angled. I don't know. Ooh, you could probably do a little bit, not too much. And then that way, the lighting should feel a little bit more harsh. It's like a top-down situation going on here. And then let's actually, we're going to angle this much more this direction. Let's also add in a plane. Scale that up onto this side over here. Make that a little more imposing. I mean, we're not going to see too much from that side of the camera, so I'm not too concerned about it. This now, we're going to go ahead and call this a flag. And we'll change the base color value to a black. I don't know why I didn't do that in the first place. I'm going to create a new collection, and we're just going to call this lighting. Now, this guy here, we'll go ahead and just grab this plane and move them over into our lighting thing. One thing is we can turn on indirect only and then make sure that is selected. You're now no longer going to be able to see that over there. Even if the camera did look in that direction, you wouldn't see the plane because the plane is indirect lighting only. It's not actually going to be full-on lighting. That looks a lot better and closer to what we wanted from that negative light. Let's do another light over here. Nice little edge light on our actor. We're going to take this whole thing and then just bevel it up a little bit. So that way we get more edges on it that we can see. This guy right here is adding kind of like this edge on our actor. And it's going to be kind of like that white edge that's going to distinguish it from the background over there. We do want it to be more of like a white value. What am I doing? A whiter value on that. I think the overhead light that we have up here, we could probably increase that a bit. I also have a plugin here. I mean, we can mess around with this later, but this is a lens sim. Create lens sim, convert to lens sim camera. I do like that, guys. Let's see, 55 Zeiss planar. Nice. Okay, we're going to keep that for right now. I'm going to be using the lens simulator add-on inside of Blender. I've been wanting to use it on one of these renders coming up, and you know what? This is going to be a great render to do so. All right, let's get into doing some 3D modeling today. We're at least going to make the zombie, all right? So let's turn off our set. Let's go ahead and turn off our reference. Oh, no, we can keep that for right now. Camera, let's turn off effects, and then let's turn off lighting. I'm just going to go over to our non-3D view here. I should probably turn off our reference for right now as well. Turn off our camera. We're going to just turn off everything. We're going to create a new collection, and we're going to call this character. This character layer here, we're going to go ahead and now add in a sphere, more than likely. I think that's probably the move, although maybe starting from the cube is really the answer. Normally, I like to start from the sphere, but you know what? We're doing cubes today, baby. Keep this reference image up over here so I can see how bad my thing looks as we're going along. Start out by making him not so circular. Use a subdivision surface. I'm going to just subdivide this a few times, and that's going to give us kind of like this this sphere that we already have. I'm going to apply that, and now we can go into some 3D modeling here. All right, guys, let's open up our sculpt settings, and we're going to start doing it. Okay, we're going to start smoothing things out. All right, and we're going to go ahead and blob out kind of like the chin here on the bottom. And then let's use a little bit of a subtraction block here for the eye location. We can add in some more details on that stuff later. I am not doing this in symmetry right now. just because, you know, I'm lazy. And you know what? I'm also not lazy at the same time, which is why I'm doing it this way. Let's put the smile into this guy over here. We're just going to try to really create, you know, a little cute guy. All right. He's got a cute guy. All right. We're going to do another, probably multi-resolution. And then let's see. Let's create some of the wrinkles up here. Oops, that's a little big. Probably subdivide that again. And he's got like both an old man face and a young man face at the same time. Is that possible? Let's go ahead and increase some of this. A good start. A noble start, as they say. You know, a real kind of cool trick we could do with this as well is, let's see, let's save this because I want this to be more accurate to the image. Let's create a new camera. Under our character settings here, select our character. Let's create a new camera. We're going to set this camera to roughly about right here, probably. And let's go ahead and then load in, what are we guessing here? 30. It's going to be the focal length of this specific shot. Maybe a nice 40. That looks pretty accurate. And then our background image now, we're going to call this camera character ref. And then we're going to load in this texture that we created. Okay. Probably located in ref, load that in, boom, boom, boom. We'll do fit. And then let's just grab this thing. We're going to rotate around the 3D cursor. And we're going to try to align this character with our reference image as much as possible. Okay, great. Now in sculpt mode on this guy, let's go ahead and make some adjustments. So we already kind of know that our eyes are pretty dang high. So let's just grab everything and then move it down. And I'm pretty happy with how that's positioned now. Let's do the sculpt a little bit more on the eyes on the inside here. And then, of course, we're going to do the nose as well, which is just about right down there. Let's actually add in another subdivision here now. I'm just going to smooth this out a little bit more. And then let's use a little bit of a grab. Let's do clay creasing. And then let's do a subtraction on that to create some of these wrinkles here. Do a 0.4 on that, I think. Just smooth out the edges here a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. Let's add some of the wrinkles back up here for the eyebrows and stuff like that. What do you guys think? Little zombie face. Little zombie face action going on right there. Save that. Set that value to 3. The 5090? Yeah, I have. I'm looking into potentially updating my rig at some point. It's, although I'm probably going to have to update even my motherboard if I did that, so I'd probably be updating everything. And that's where things get a little complicated, is I like my computer. I'm not interested in updating everything, but maybe that means I do. I don't know. All right, let's go back over here into the sculpt mode again, and let's use this blob tool here, and we're really going to subtract the inside of this nose. Let's swap that back to object mode, and then we're just going to create a plane, I think. Rotate that 90 degrees, and we're just going to scale that down, and that'll be just like a black plane. Probably under our character here, we'll just negative nose. Get new material, and let's just make it full black with complete roughness. Let's create a new material for the eye, and under our eye settings here, let's see. So we're gonna go set that to render view, and then over here I'm gonna swap this over to a shader editor. We're gonna make some adjustments. Well, first of all, let's add in a we need the pupil of the eye, so probably make a, let's see, our texture. I think it's a gradient texture is what we want. And then we're going to make this a circle, spherical. Okay. Let's see what that looks like. And then let's use a color ramp. And again, see what that looks like. We're going to make this pretty small and sharp. Make that edge pretty sharp here. And then we're going to set up some vector settings here and then change the location probably of everything. And let's see, his eye's pretty squishy, so we might change the scaling of the X here, which we can also change the location again. I don't think just adding this to that eye, oh, it does line up. Let's go, baby. So we're going to call this eyeball. And on our eyeball here, we're going to basically have two values, a black value and a white value, right? Because we need the outside sclera of the white area, and then the pupil color on the inside. And if we basically invert the color value that we currently have, that's pretty close to what we want. But let's not do that. Instead, we're going to create 2 different textures. So let's use a noise texture for the first one. This is going to be the sclera, okay? It's a pretty basic outside white pupil thing, but we're really trying to create like that veiny type effect that you would get on eyes. So let's go ahead and first add in like these rigids here. And then secondly, we're going to add in a color ramp that we're going to then use. And let's create more sharp edges on this these iris moments here, okay? So let's, first of all, let's do that. And then let's just make this really sharp. And then voila, that looks great. Then we're going to do a mix color node now. And we're going to do a few different things. First of all, we're going to set the value to something that a little more fleshy in nature. And then I'm going to do something a little bit more red. And then this color value goes into the factor of those 2 things. So now you're going to get that. Now, I probably want to invert that, right? So let's go ahead and add in an invert color. So now you got your like nice kind of like white sclera that you got going on for your eyes. And then you've got like these kind of like more red lines that are going to be inside of your eye as well. Now that color value then should get plugged into our principal BSDF, like our main kind of base color texture. And that's what we're going to get doing that. And over top of everything, we're going to want everything to be pretty dang reflective, okay? Because it's an eyeball. So we're going to change the roughness here to be reflective. So that way we're going to get some of the, surrounding environment and things like that kind of coming through. Next up, because it's an animated character, I've always noticed that you want to have a little bit of like brightness on the eyes. You don't want them to be completely dark. And the reason why it's not realistic, to have the eyes be suffocatingly dark. You almost want them to be kind of reflective in nature, where they're really kind of like reflecting the world around them. Next up is using a little bit of subsurface scattering. I believe what we're going to want this weight value to be a little bit higher. So let's go ahead and do that. Probably do skin value here. So let's lift this value up. This is going to create the kind of like fleshy tones on the eyes. Next up is going to be, there's a few different things. We could use an ambient occlusion. This is going to create a material based off of the lighting of what's around it. And if you use like a color ramp, like so, you can actually increase the amount of brightness that's going to be. This is going to work really well for us because we want to bring down the edges of the light to make it feel, because again, we're bringing the emission up on this. So we kind of want to bring the rest down accordingly. Okay. So let's do that. Let's use a principled BSDF, and we're going to use a little bit of a darker value, probably, and then maybe even a bit more red. And then let's do a mix shader node here, and this FAC, which will then get plugged into that. And then that gets plugged into the top value because for whatever reason, Blender inverts everything, right? So now we're going to go ahead and look at that. Now we've got ourselves a nice eyeball. I do want the roughness on like that darkened outside edges to be a little bit more reflective and probably less dark. So let's just lift that up a little bit. We've got a really nice looking sclera there, but now we need the pupil portion of the eyeball. And we can do that all the way back here. So now we already have our like mat of where those pupils are supposed to exist. We just basically need to adjust what this mix color value is here. So we do need to add an additional mix color value on. We've got our A input there, and then we're just going to plug this color ramp directly into our FAC, and then we just need a black value for the rest of the pupil. If you go look at that, you'll see that's what that looks like. Now, that gets plugged into our principal BSDF, which then runs through everything else, and then you're going to get this really nice looking effect here. Now, because of the way that this material looks, it's going to kind of wash out that base color kind of effect that we've got going on there. And we may want to do something ourselves, right? So that's where maybe we create a whole separate principal BSDF. And instead of using another mix color there, we'll just keep that like so. Let's move this entirety of this color ramp all the way over here and plug in another mix shader. Whoops, I think I just deleted it, but we'll just duplicate that one. It's fine. And then this gets plugged into the FAC. And as you can see, that looks correct so far, but we do want more realism with like how the pupils are going to be reflecting the environment around it. And we can do that pretty easily. So let's go ahead and add in this principal BSDF here. And there you go. It's now got those kind of like reflections in the eyes, which looks great, guys. It looks great. Now, I just want to double check. Sometimes you'll notice that it's going to have like a specularity, like kind of like beam of light that happens on eyeballs. And that looks great. Now we can do that using like real reflective like things inside of our environment, or we can actually fake it, which I love because then we don't have to have any light that's going to be affecting everything else in our shot. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we've got these we already have this, right? Let's just duplicate it. We go view it real quick. Let's see what it's doing. Let's go ahead and set the scaling here to something a lot smaller. We actually set the scaling of a value of like 0.2 into our scale completely. And then now we just need to find our spot. Great. And then let's just lessen that. Okay, so now we've got ourselves like a little tiny highlight that we're going to be adding in. And what we can do with this is just use another like mix shader. Plug that in to the top value there. And then all we need to do is then plug this matte value into our FAC. And then it allows us to then mix another thing in, right? So let's do like a principal BSDF with like a higher emission value, probably something like that. And that gets plugged into that shader there. And if we go and view that now, you'll notice that we're going to have ourselves a highlight that we're kind of like comping in on the shader graph rather than having as like an actual reflective surface. And that works really well, especially with just getting something that you know will always be there and you're not too afraid of it like falling out. There really isn't much more texture on the eye, though if you wanted to, we could totally add a texture to the eye. So just give it a little bit more of why not? Oh, it's noise texture. So go into this thing here, for instance, change the scaling of this, use a color ramp, and then all we have to do is change this value here to something like that. That can get plugged into our base color, and then voila, now our eyes are going to have a little bit more of a texture to them rather than just being straight black. I guess this is what we're feeding into it, but you're right. We could totally do the same thing we just did with the pupil. Just scale this kind of thing up here and use a color ramp, and then plugging in the black value here to kind of that, and then the white value here. To the same color at first, but then just make it slightly darker. Boom, baby. Pretty subtle, but totally works. Okay, let's go ahead and add in our set real quick. Need some lights though. Let's under our character here, I'm gonna create a new collection called character lights, and under the 3D viewport here, we're going to add in just a few lights. Okay, just so I can see what the frick I'm doing. First of all. Oh, this is kind of frustrating, actually, because I really like the lights that we have. I just need to open up our set here, and let's grab this light. Reference, camera, effects. Let's grab all of these lights here. We're going to throw them all under character lights, okay? Let's see. We're going to rotate all of them around. And then we're going to turn everything else off, okay? So, cameras, effects, lighting. Beautiful. Go back to our camera view here, and this should at least be pretty close. Wonderful. Let's call this zombie skin. Let's do a nice cool zombie skin. We'll use this as a reference. All right, we're going to offset the X here just so we can see kind of what we're doing. Subsurface scattering, we're going to increase that up a little bit. I'm going to try to create ourselves a nice little texture here. As much as possible, of course. Probably fill light as well, I'm thinking. Let's get a nice little area light here. Let's turn on extras. And then let's scale that up by individual origins. All right. It's feeling a little minty. You know what I'm saying? It's a little minty, in my opinion. And that's not good. Let's look at our noise texture now. Scale that out to a nice, good size, pupil size that skin may or may not have. All right? And then we're going to use an ambient occlusion node. All right? Let's see what that looks like. It's pretty solid. Let's use a color ramp now. And we're going to increase the amount of this. It's nice. Okay, great. Then we take that. And then let's use a mix color node. And let's take that value there. And then this value there. And this value there. And bro, we are close. So that's the white values. And you got yourself some nice freckle values. So we'll use another color ramp to make sure that it does map all the way to the white. Maybe even increase the amount of that. And then now this, just decrease that a little bit. And then all of that, it's going to be kind of like our skin shader, okay? Or our normals bump map for our skin. Let's use a bump map. Plug this value here into the height. Now if you go view that, you can kind of see what it's going to do, this then can get plugged directly into our normals on our skin. So if we go view that, you can see that it's going to create all of these bump materials all over the entirety of our image. Probably want the strength to be quite a bit lower. These normals get plugged into the normal there. Let's do another mixed color here. And this one, just going to make sure the green values are selected on that. I'm going to use the same ambient occlusion. Actually, probably exactly the same ambient occlusion value here. Plug into the FAC. If we go view that real quick, let's go ahead and then set this to be a little bit of a darker value. And then that goes into our principal DSCF as a base color. So now we're going to get a little bit darker kind of effect going on around the eyes and certain things. Just want to try to get some of those hot spots that we're getting on the wrinkles there. Which maybe that's our problem, is our wrinkles are actually going in. So like everything on the face is going in rather than coming out. And that's, I think, creating a bit of an issue here. So let's go back to solid view right now. And then let's go over here to sculpt mode, and we're just going to blob some of these out. Essentially, those are subtracting in, but we actually want them to push outwards instead of inwards. I'm kind of thinking that we need to have a little more highlights. So let's do another mixed color here. Just add that in. And let's make these white dots. And this mix value from this guy, let's plug that into the FAC. Now, the color ramp of it, oh, that's a lot. Let's invert these values, something like that. So now this is going to have some white dots that are going to be speckled into the skin shader. Okay, and then let's see the noise texture here. Let's have this guy. Let's change the scaling now. That way it's really not that many. I'm actually going to invert this as well. And then we're going to use this in conjunction with another mix color node. Mix color, and then this value will be a darker value. The FAC gets plugged into there. So now we're going to get some of these kind of like freckles really dropped all over. Let's do another color ramp. Delete this value, but if we go and view this real quick, the white value here will set to a 0.7, just the same value as we had before, so like a 0.877. And then the black value here does go all the way black, and then this can get plugged directly into the roughness. So now these areas will definitely be way more reflective. Real quick, actually, this might actually be an easy way of doing this. I kind of want to get this camera position set up so we can see this in the actual environment. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Let's add in an empty with a cube. This is going to be our character, right? And we'll take all of our character objects that we currently have and then just parent them. Say object keep transform. And then now, if we go ahead and keyframe these here, we're just going to go to a next keyframe here now. We'll go ahead and turn set on. Let's just scale everything down here, rotate it. Realistically, what we're trying to do is, let's do this. Camera view. Yeah, everything should be set. Next keyframe, please. Rotate that. Scale it down. There we go. And really what we're trying to do is set this up in a position. Let's see where the reference is. Perfect. Scale it down. Place that roughly over here. Let's turn on the camera, effects, and lighting. And then let's go ahead and select our camera now, and then make sure that that is our camera that we're viewing. And now if we go to render view, because it's using lens simulation, and then now let's select our character empty box that we have, and then place that in here. That's good. I think we just need a fill light, and then I'd be happy with what we've got going on here. Probably going to disable all of our area lights that we have to make sure that none of that is adjusting on us right now. Let's add an additional area light here, just kind of like overhead on him, and increase the intensity now. Oh, we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. Let's go ahead, and now we're just going to focus on some sculpting, okay, guys? Get some cubes in here and do all the heavy lifting, because Minecraft, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but Minecraft is a game full of cubes. There's not much more to it than that. Okay, we're going to do the t-shirt, I think. So let's put that down a little bit. Grab this guy here. I'm going to actually hide this for a second. Let's see. This cube is under the lighting section. Let's make it under our character section. And then this will be our shirt cube. So now this, if we go over into our sculpting mode, I'm also going to turn off our lights. I don't think we need to see that right now. Go to sculpt mode now, and I'm just going to create a bit of a neckline here. I mean, he's got that chin that we've already created, and now we just need to pull down the neck area. So let's do, got the snake hook one. Yeah, I think the snake hook one will work pretty well. So let's bring some of that down. Make this a little bit thicker because, you know, it's his whole jaw going down into it, not just a tiny bit. Yeah, that looks good. And then we'll just add the cube for the rest of the shirt. I just want to probably smooth this out a little bit. Now we just smooth this stuff out, and then we're going to add in a little bit of the neck muscles. All right, we're going to use another multi-res on this guy. You know what we're going to do? We're going to Control Z everything we just did, because, you know, that's always a good start. And then I'm going to turn on symmetry right now. I didn't want to do it for the face because we were specifically going in a specific pattern, but you know how it is. All right, we're going to just flatten it from the top if we can here. And then we're going to create a little bit more of the shoulders. Just trying to create a little more of a cube with a lot of vertices, which I suppose I could have done through subdivision first or something like that, so that way it didn't rotate it out, but I don't care. We're having a good time. Just having a good time. Okay, we're gonna, I think that's good for the shoulders there. He's a beefy boy. Let's turn off symmetry now, because I gotta get, you know, him in the pose that I need. Okay, let's smooth out this a little bit. I'm gonna try to add in some shirt wrinkles here on the front of the chest. We need to make it feel more like a t-shirt that is loose than his body, I suppose. So I'm going to inflate the bottom here. We're just going to try to get this to come out a little bit more. Don't we have like a cloth? We have grab random cloth. Oh, that's cool. Just a little bit more wrinkles there. Right here. I want something a little bit more on the side here, I suppose. All right, let's do this snake hook thing, I think. And then we just rotate that a little bit. And then it's going to give a little more flow to the t-shirt here, I think. Oh, that's pretty good, guys. I like this. Let's go ahead and we're going to grab this crease polish. And then I just want to add in some seams for this shirt. Tighten up kind of like around the t-shirt here if we can. And then we'll just, that way we can texture this later to have more of a seam effect on it. But I just wanted to get that on there. Smooth it all the way around a little bit. I think that looks good. So then that's your sleeve. It's got a real short sleeve, okay? And we'll just sharpen this side over here as well. Okay, let's smooth this out a little bit here. I'm going to bring down the back of this t-shirt a little bit. And just make sure the collar looks a little bit better. All right, we're going to see that or not. So let's go to our object here, and then we have our character. Let's just take this and parent it to the body, I think. Object, keep transform. And then if we go to camera view, let's just see what this looks like in render view. Okay, that looks good, guys. I do think he has more of a neckline than, yeah, if we pull that up, I think that's going to be a lot better. Oh, that looks way better already. That's good, but then let's fix this this freaking thing right there. So let's go back to sculpt mode. Okay, let's look at this real quick. So we do have to do a little bit of arm work here, guys. Let's do it, I guess. I was hoping I didn't have to do the arms. Okay, I'm going to throw in another multi-res on this cube here. How long is his arms? Did you say he could reach about to the top of here if you were to extend it upwards? Go here in his sculpt mode, and then we're going to use our nice little elastic grab tool and just grab that over if we can. Then I'm just going to blob that up, I think, a little bit. Oh, oops, that's a subtraction blob. We need that to be a plus blob or a plus inflator. Just got to create some nice sharp edges, boys. Nice, sharp, cube-like edges. Okay, we're going to do the, I think we have to do some kind of like snake hook. And then we got to get his thumbs. So thumbs on the inside here. So let's just do that. And then fingers, which we will do as well. Let's subdivide it again, so that way we've got some more topology to work with. And then let's also make more of a palm, I'm thinking. So that way we already have something to work with here. And then I think that's good. So then let's use this to inflate a little bit. Okay, let's see. Just create a little bit of anatomy here on how this palm should be. And then I'll probably just prop a lot of that out. Do a bit more of a grab on this. Oh, yeah, no, that looks bad. 1 second. We're going to clean it. We're cleaning it up, okay? Inflate or deflate. We're going to use the deflator. And then let's shrink some of this. I think hands are the bane of my existence, honestly. We're feeling pretty good, guys. We're feeling pretty good. Keep that at an 8, I think. And then we do a cube. This is like actually one of the things in kind of like all of VFX that I feel like I'm the least skilled at is 3D modeling. I've always wanted to do more 3D modeling, but I do feel like it's the thing that I've never really done all that much of, which is why I like to do these streams every now and then. Do I enjoy it? I do. I do enjoy it. I think it's fun. I don't think I'm exceptionally good at it, but it is fun to do. Okay, now I just need to make this line up with our skin a little bit better. So now we take this and then let's go back into sculpt mode here. I'm going to deflate this a little bit into the finger. Then let's inflate a little bit on around the edges here. So that way we've got the fingernail going into something. Elastic grab and clean up the edges around this as well, of course. Then we'll duplicate that over here. We just got to blaze through this if we can, guys. Go back into sculpt mode and we're going to finish the fingernails now on all the fingers. That one looks pretty good to me. Just going to now inflate this. Whoa. 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 Just going to do that. And then let's just bolster up the skin around this real quick, and then we can smooth it out. Okay. And then same with over here. And we'll smooth that whole thing out down there. Object keep transform. I think I still want to keep these as separate objects, at least for now. But let's go and select it all. Here we go. Got 2 beefy arms, baby. Let's go. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to take this and let's just rotate it. Just put it in our general location that we want our arm to be. And then we're going to have to fix our sleeve here in a moment. And then this one here, I mean, I suppose it's still going to be on the outside, but we're just going to line that up a little bit more. We're not really going to see this arm at all. That's so funny. I got to get the arms parented to the body now. We're not rigging anything because it's just for a still image, so I'm not too concerned about it. Just try to get like a little bit more of that feeling that a sleeve would have, or wispy nature. It's also a bit ripped, isn't it? Okay, let's use this clay here. We're going to try sculpting some ears. I'm going to turn on symmetry, I think. Just pop that out a little bit. Right? Okay, smooth that out now. Okay, okay, not bad. Okay, and then now we're going to use the subtraction here. So the inside of this ear, and right here, and then that, and then we just smooth it out a little bit, and inflate this entire thing, I think. And then if we use that snake hook elastic thingy thing, great. And then I'm just going to subtract behind this ear a little bit. Okay, great. Now we're going to do some of the hair stuff. So we're going to use the particle system. I'm going to create a new data vertex group here. Yeah, we'll call this group, and might even call it hair. Let's just call this hair. We're going to edit this vertex group here. So if we go over into our weight paint options, we have hair selected. Now we're going to paint the areas in which the hair is going to exist. Now I think we should actually break this up even more. So let's call this hair side, and we'll do all the sides where like the small hair is, right? So let's select some of this here. Probably all the way up to the top of his head. And then let's go all the way around. And then we're just going to outline the areas in which we want this hair to be. Okay, so now this is the short hair. So I don't think it really hurts us to go to the top of the head. We don't want to be on the front of the head. So we will probably subtract a lot of that. But now I'm just going to select everything that's within inside of that circle. We're going to have to do some cleanup work, of course, because I'm accidentally selecting stuff outside right now. But let's go through and select as much of that as possible. We're going to have to do some cleanup as far as like how heavy this hair is going to be, because that all matters for length. We'll select all of that. I'm probably going to fade it though, because his hair does get shorter closer to the bottom of where his ear is at. Let's go back to object mode here, save, and then turn on particles. Let's turn on hair now. It's going to throw hair everywhere. I'm going to do under field weights, or no, vertex groups. We're going to select hair side as our option now. And then we're going to scale the hair length down quite a bit. And 0.1 even might be too much. Oh, hair length, by the way, I'm also going to select hair sides. Viewport display, let's see, we want to see the children. So let's do interpolated on the hair children. And that's going to throw just like a little bit of wackiness in there. Let's turn the kink on to something like curl. Either curl or I think curl might work. And then we'll change the amplitude here. Do something quite a bit smaller. let's see, we'll display the same amount that we're going to be rendering. So, and this is just for the shorter hairs on the side here. Let's change like the randomness. So we've got roughness. We're going to use a roughness curve, I think, on this. Or actually, no, we can actually just input the values. Let's do random here of a 1. Maybe less, actually. 0.2. Oh, that's looking nice. It's looking nice, guys. We like that. Some nice random thick hairs here. Let's go to the secondary position of where this is going to be at. Let's set this camera up where we can actually render it and see what it looks like. So let's just do 0.1. Oh, that's looking way better. You know, I don't know why I haven't done this yet, but let's go ahead and give himself a t-shirt real quick. We're going to give this a nice little t-shirt blue thing going on here. Also, let's open up ourselves a shader editor and get ourselves a little bit of a nice texture going here. All right, a little bit, just a little bit of one. We're going to add in some displacement to the t-shirt. Honestly, this default might be pretty good just for like a smudgy, dirty effect that we want to have. So I'm going to open up, let's do a mix. We'll just do a mixed color here. We don't have to do any RGBs or anything like that. And primarily, we're just going to want this default blue that we have there. And then probably the same blue, but we're just going to make it a little bit darker. So we'll just make it a little more dark. And that should be good. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to use the FAC of this into the factor. So that way when we view this color, you'll notice that it's got a little bit more blotchiness to it. And that's going to be totally fine. Add in a little bit of extra dirt that we've got going on. I'm going to plug this over here into the A input. And then for this B, let's just do another noise texture here. And I'm going to change the scale here to something really small. All right, we really like this. Let's do that. Let's just keep going until we get to there. And then make that really crunchy. We just want like a single section where maybe we're going to add in some dirt here. The other thing we could do maybe is let's use an ambient occlusion. And we're just same with the color ramp, honestly. Oh, this is going to work way better. Yeah, let's do this instead of the noise texture. So we're going to use this ambient occlusion here. And just make that pretty crunchy. Oh, that's good. That'll be like the sweat stains, I think. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to plug this new ambient occlusion into the factor here. And if you go view that, you can already see it's taking into effect what it was going to be doing. So now all we have to do is then just make this a bit darker. And we might want to blur this effect a little more. So let's not make this quite as crunchy. But if we lift this back, we're just going to make it so that it's more visible on that kind of like section. Now, if you go view this, it's going to give you a black and white image directly out of this color ramp. And that's our matte, essentially, of what is going to be kind of like the sweat stains versus what's not going to be the sweat stains. And we're going to want to use that. So if we plug this mix directly into the base color, that's great. But we're going to want to use this inside of our roughness section. So the areas in which that we want to be rough is actually the inverse of what currently is here. So let's go ahead and grab the invert color. And now you'll notice that everything is going to be pretty rough, except for like that sweat stained section there. And let's plug this directly into our roughness. So now if we go ahead and view this, everything should be pretty rough. It's not reflective versus the area that's right there. And that's because inside of our invert, this is all the value is set to white versus the area that the value is set to black. Now, again, we're probably going to want to color ramp this whole thing. And if we go view that, you can see exactly what we're going to be doing here. We don't want black to be pure black because it's a t-shirt. It's not like a, you know, it's not like a cell phone screen surface or anything like that. So we want this to be a little bit more in the gray area, and we'll keep the white white. And honestly, you could probably even, you know, clip that a little bit more to make sure that we're not doing anything too reflective. It's a t-shirt after all, right? All right, our t-shirt's still looking a little flat here, but let's get ourselves some nice little, you know, stitchings that's on the t-shirt. And we could do this one of two ways. We could either open up some texture. We'd probably find some texture online somewhere. All right, let's plug this normal into the color and then the color into the normals. And then I think that should give us a nice little t-shirt texture here. I'm concerned about the UV wraps or UV maps on this. So let's take a real quick gander at the roughness of this UV map here. And you'll notice right off the bat, that is not correct for how our t-shirt should be set up. You know what? Screw this. Let's go ahead and open up this inside of edit mode over here. Guys, I figured it out. It's because it's actually a cube. This whole time it's been a cube. It's not a real t-shirt. It's a cube. It's been faking itself. Okay, yeah, that's because the multi-res hasn't been applied. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. We're going to go to solid view real quick. And then with this t-shirt selected, instead of it being a cube, we're going to go ahead and just apply the multi-res. So now if we go inside of edit mode, it's actually the vertices that we sculpted, not a cube itself, which is great. This is exactly what we want, other than the fact that it's going to freeze our computer. But that is exactly what we're going for here. And I just want to double check. So let's open up a 3D viewport. So let's go ahead and unwrap this. We're going to use Smart UV unwrapping here. I'm going to load that in. Okay, so now that t-shirt has that, you'll notice that the fabric pattern is a little better. It's not quite what we wanted, and that's because the Smart UV did not do the fun stuff. Okay, it didn't do it how we wanted it to do it. Oh, well, that makes sense. So we're gonna I'm selecting this seam here, which luckily enough, because of the way the multi-res worked, this goes all the way around. I'm actually going to then mark this as a seam. So let's view bounce. That actually is going to work out really well for us. I know that it's a little bunchy up here, but I'm fine with this here. And this can just look like it's just crinkled t-shirt. So I'm going to cheat it and say it's fine for us in this particular case. So I'm going to just use another mix shader. We'll probably do a mix color here. And then this is going to be plugged into the B input. It doesn't really matter which one it's plugged into, but we want to be mixing both these on top of each other, specifically adding their values to each other. So we're going to be plussing those. We're either going to be doing that or multiplying. And because of that, now you can see that it's actually going to be multiplying those results, those roughness results directly over top of our otherwise created texture there. So now we take this guy and then we plug this directly into our roughness. And then we're going to do, similarly, we have to get this displacement here. So now our normals pattern is going to be using that same exact UV unwrapping that we already did there. And then we just create that into a normal map. And then we plug that directly into our principal BSDF. With that being said, we also need to take our displacement here and then plug that directly into our displacement up there. Now, how do we do that? We use a bump node. So we're just going to load in the color value of this, plug that into height, and then the normals go into our displacement of that bump value. Now, depending on how strong you want this, you can multiply these values by anything else. But I'm thinking actually this t-shirt's looking pretty solid. I'm just going to zoom in so that way we can see what it looks like rendered out and everything. Okay, there's two things we could do. We could do modeling the chicken right now, or we could go straight into doing the hair on this zombie, which, you know, seems less fun. So maybe we should do that first. Let's go open up a 3D viewport here and start working on this. So right now we only have the sideburns of the hair already done. So we might want to actually get in on that. All right, let's go here to solid view real quick. And then now we only have one particle system set up right now, and it's just this particle system. So let's go ahead and rename it to sideburns. And then I'm going to, let's go to our camera real quick. And then let's go to frame 0 here. And then we're going to turn off our set. What we're going to do is I'm going to duplicate the zombie head here. And then, which this is what they recommend doing on literally every other tutorial ever. I just don't know why I didn't do it. And we're just going to, let's see, that is cube 17. What we're going to do right now is we're just going to hide that. Okay. This one right here, let's lessen the level viewport. So let's do viewport render. We're going to set this to like 2. It's going to be a lot less vertices located on the head. Maybe even, I don't know if we want to go down to 1. And then I'm going to set this to 2 on everything else. And then what we're going to do is we're going to apply that. All right. Now inside of our actual zombie character here, if we go to our data here, I'm going to swap this over to face selection mode. And then we're going to select all the vertices that we have for our hair. Okay. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to invert this selection. So Control I should do the trick. And I'm going to go ahead and just delete those vertices. So now we only have the cap that we're putting hair onto. We don't actually have the full face. We don't need the full face because we're literally just adding in hair to everything else. Next up, we can take our other face and we can just bring that back in. I don't think that's going to crash our computer because we're not going to be necessarily in the particle edit mode of the face. So for this guy, for instance, let's go to our particles and then we're just going to remove the sideburns. So we're only using hair up here, not hair on the actual body. But now you can see they're completely separate. So funny enough, the rest of the body is parented to the hair, not to the face. And that's totally fine. So now we're good. Now what we can do is we can go in and go to our data here, and then we're just going to add in additional vertex groups that'll be very useful for our use case here. So we'll do hair top. And we're probably going to do back hair as well later as well. But this hair top now, let's go over here into our weight paint, and we're going to start painting on some of the areas in which we want to have thicker hair. I'm going to go back over here to object mode, and we're going to go into the particles. We're just going to add in a new hair particle system that we are going to call top hair. Now, if we add in this, it's already just putting it where the hair is located. What we need to do now is select the hair. I don't know why it's called, oh, hair top. There we go. And then we'll change the length here to be hair top as well. And let's just make this overall a lot smaller. And now we can start making this kind of clumpy. We know that this top one is going to be a little bit longer in nature. And then, of course, we're going to do some children that are interpolated. I like to view in my viewport the amount of children that we are putting in, so that way there's no surprises later. And then, of course, I like to give it a nice little kink. So let's do this as like wave. I think curl usually is pretty nice. I like curl because it gives it that wild kind of feel to it. You just need to lessen the amplitude here. So if we just make that like a 0.1 maybe. I'm going to turn off the weight of this quite a bit, and we're just going to kind of like have it fall off a little more to the sides here. I need it to be there, but not be too dark, essentially. What I'm trying to do right now is have more of a fade that goes into his sideburns. Let's turn the weight up a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to taper off the tops here to the sides. Oh yeah, guys, that's looking pretty good right there. We do need some longer bits here on the front that are going to go down. Go back over here into our particle. I like to simplify things. I like them to be like just one vertex group because it's got all my settings already in here. You know, like we're just going to be annoying. It's okay. We are going to be annoying, guys, collectively here as a group. All right. We're going to do this the annoying way. I'm going to add a new particle system here. Long hair. We're going to make these longer hairs like that. And then let's go into, all right, let's use curl for the kink here. And let's set this to a nice smaller value. And then let's change this to like 20, just a few hairs. You don't have to have a lot. Okay, I'm going to change the density here to be using the top because we really only want the long hairs to be at the top. And then also with this, let's see, let's change the children here. So we're using this density amount of children here. Let's set this to 20, a little bit higher. And then let's change the length here. Just pull that out a little bit more. And then let's then make it so that change the clump factor a little bit here. And then the flatness, do we want the flatness? Oh my gosh, that's terrible. I guess we'll keep that at 0, 0.1. And then I really don't like that. Let's see the frequency here. That's probably fine. 0.1. Oh, there we go. That's what we wanted, guys. A little bit of randomness in there. Now we just bring down the length down. I think the length is just a little too long. Okay, and then let's go to frame number 2 here. And then we're going to turn on lighting. We're going to turn on character lights. Oh, those are completely off right now. So we're going to turn those on, which it looks like everything is off anyways. We'll turn on the ref or the set. And I think that should be good. So if we go to camera view here, let's just turn that on just to see what you have. Wow, that hair is long as heck. What is going on? Oh, because it scales down. No, that's not good. All right, we're going to make these smaller. Holy crap. 0.015 maybe? Oh, wait, no, the sideburn should probably already be correct. Let's do top hair. Oh, you can't. No, guys, I think we screwed up. Hair length here, 0.1. This long hair, though, I think that's about right. I think that the texturing of this hair is really just not correct. If we change see, that's direct coloring. Let's do melanin concentration. And then, okay, we're going to give him like pretty close to black hair or black hair. Okay, so let's select our hair particles now. And then we're going to make some adjustments, try to get this to match up as much as possible here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, for the top hair here, I'm just going to trim up the front. And then let's go back into object mode. So we still have kind of like the top of the head, still doing what we want the top of the head to do. Let's use particle edit again real quick. I'm going to use the comb tool. We're just going to flatten everything out a little bit more, going off to the sides for this stuff. And then I'm going to do my own kind of like front of the head effect. Just select this front. I just need the front. All right, just like that, perfect. And then we're going to hit assign, where just these vertices on the front of the hair are going to be emitting our new hair particles. So now if we go back over to our particle settings here, we're going to create a new particle set. We'll call this bang hair. Bang, then go hair. And then let's see, change out that to zombie hair, interpolate it, and then we're just gonna have to duplicate a lot of our settings here. So we'll just keep 10 for that. Our hair is pretty thin. It's pretty thin indeed, everybody. Let's go to our hair shape. Where's that at? Set this to a nice 0.1 for these front strands here. Let's just see how that looks. I want it to be a little thicker. Let's make it a 0.2. Let's go to our lighting. There's this bronzy hair. I think this is going to also help us see what we're really doing here. So I'm gonna just add in a nice light, a nice little top light here, specifically for the hair. So I'm gonna scale that up, probably outwards as well. We're just gonna really get that top fringe of the hair going on. Let's turn on the power here. We're gonna make this a little more bronzy. It's like tungsten lighting. I believe this kind of like section there is missing. So we can just make a little bit more of a transitional area. Well, okay, one second. Let's do this. Let's go to data. We're gonna add in another vertex group, and let's call this hair underscore top front. And if we go to hair top right now, and then we select hair top, so we're gonna just select all of hair top, and then we go to hair top front. Let's use this real quick, and we're gonna just deselect everything that's not in that front section here. And we can deselect the sides as well. We really just want that front area. And then I'm going to assign that to the hair top front section. So now if we go back to our object mode and we select our particle system here, we go down to the density, we select hair top front. It's really only going to have this front area. And then again, we're going to go in and then change this to interpolated. And now he's looking like he's got, I don't even know, dude. He's got a fro going on, all right? He's got a fro. What can I say? Hair diameter, we set that to like a 0.4. Just increase the clumping here to more. Great. So now if we go over into our particle edit mode, we can push a lot of this forward and to the front because our main goal with this is just to fill in the sections between the front of the head that is already kind of like down and then like the top hair, which is upwards. Now we got ourselves a chicken to make, guys. We've got a chicken to make, and these things are easy in comparison to the zombie and the hair and everything that we've done so far. Cool. So how do you create a cubical chicken looking creature? Well, the first step is by praying, because this is going to be fun. And secondly, then we're going to add in a cube that is just going to be in front of him. That's it. Everything in Minecraft is just a cube. I hate to tell you that, guys. I don't know if you knew that or not, but it's definitely true. Everything in Minecraft is just a cube. The shot had 2 shots. We're doing the closer up version of the shot. I'm just sorry. We're doing that right now. Okay. It's just that I'm struggling with this chicken. The zombie, I think, looks great. Honestly, I love the zombie. Huge fan of it. I think that's good. Now let's get the rope to look good. So let's do the rope real quick. We'll texture the background, render this out, and then comp it. I'm just making rope. That's what I'm attempting to do right now. And I'm running into issues. If we select everything here and say cursor to selected, and then do object set origin to 3D cursor, it'll center the screw. Oh, perfect. Then if we set that to 360, set this to like 10, let's do like 1 for right now. Beautiful. We've got ourselves a rope that we can then stretch out to however many we want just by doing that. Now we've got ourselves a rope. Fantastic. Now if we add in a curve, we can go to our curves that we already have in here, and we just have to plug it in, right? Is that how easy it is? Now I think I just have to line this up, right? Let's turn that off for a second. Okay. And then we rotate this 90 degrees, rotate this 90 degrees, scale it down to the size that we want it to be, and then align this with our Bezier curve that we have here. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. And then now if we go ahead and then turn that on, we're kind of close, guys. So now I just have to line this up, and then we won't have to do it again. Now let's duplicate that downwards and then change the curve that it's going to be associated with is to the second Bezier curve. and then we duplicate that again downwards, and then we remove the curve that it's associated with, and then do the third Bezier curve. Fantastic. So now if I want to adjust how curvy any of these are, I can. Probably should apply both these things. And then if we take this and then we flip the normals, there we go. Gonna fix our problems that we otherwise would have. Okay, let's realign some of these up here. Let's grab all of these pieces of rope. I'm gonna grab all of these, join them together. I'm gonna do the same with these over here. Join them together. Select this piece of rope over here. Join the rope together, okay? Now we're going to go to camera view real quick, and one cool thing is with rope, let's actually look up some references of rope. So this right here, now that we already have kind of like the bounds on the rope on the background, we can add in those little hairs to them, okay? Essentially, now that we have all of these like kind of ropes combined here, we're going to add in a new particle system. We'll call this rope hair. Yeah, rope hair is fine. So we're going to make these little hairs smaller and probably go a little crazy with them, right? Let's add in a new material, and I'm going to call this rope. Should be a difference between rope and rope hairs. So let's add in a new one called rope hair. And we'll change this over here to a principled hair BSDF. And under our material, select that. Now let's make this like 2000. Let's turn on interpolated children here. And here's the thing, guys. This is just, it's all sticking straight up. And hair on rope doesn't stick straight up. So we have to kind of make it a little bit more noisy. So if we turn the kink of this to something like a curl, it's going to go freaking wild. But it's too big. So if we make that a little smaller, flatten everything out a little bit, get to be closer. If we change now the scaling of the whole thing, so we're just 0.04 this thing. Let's take the amplification here and make it a lot smaller. And then let's increase the amount of children to match what we want to render. And then let's change so our frequency is a lot, so our amplitude's lower, but then we can boost our frequency now. And then we make our amplitude again a little bit smaller. And then we can change our shape here. I do like the less amount of shape. Let's remove the flatness because we don't want it to feel like it's clamped up too much. It's a piece of rope that we're not going to see because it's in the background, blurred out, but it's kind of cool. For rope textures, so this is going to be our default color that we have here. We probably want to lift that up quite a bit. That's going to give us kind of more of like this brownish material that we've got going on. Probably if we lift that all the way, it's going to be a lot closer. Our rope is blonde, okay? Our rope is blonde, and that's fine. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get that same material over here. Probably have to fake it a bit, something like that. And then we're going to make our own material on top of it because otherwise we're not going to get those itty bitty strands that are inside of it. What we really need now are these little lines that you otherwise would have. So we can do that though in shading. I'm going to use a wave texture, guys. So let's add in a wave texture and let's make this with a color ramp. So that way we can make it more specific to what we're trying to do here. And then now if we change our scale here, that's going to make it a lot bigger, which I don't think these lines are going in the direction we want them to. Actually, not really not. Let's see. Is that better or worse? A little worse. I'm thinking this is probably better. Okay, that's looking good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make, whoops, gotta reselect that. We're going to make a mix color node. So let's use a mix color node. And we're going to use this to plug directly into the factor of it. And the A input will be this value here, which we could just drag and drop that. And then the B input is going to be well, actually, I guess the A input would be a little bit darker, something like that. And so then now if you take this mixed color value and plug it into our base color, and we turn our roughness up, and then we're going to use probably another noise texture. Let's go ahead and look at that real quick. Then we boost the scale of this noise texture to be something like that. We could then use this as a bump. So we're going to plug this into the height value of this bump node here. And actually, let's see, maybe that, yeah, let's do that. And then that plugs into our normal. And then if we go view our principled BSDF, it's going to think for a second. And then it's going to give us our rope texture that we have with our lines and our bump on the node there. Let's go to render view to see what it looks like. And that is looking pretty good, guys. I want these lines though. They feel like they're going down the rope rather than intertwining along the rope. So we're probably going to want this wave texture to be rotated a little bit. So if I rotate this y-axis by 45 degrees, that will rotate our lines as well, I think. I think it's the y-axis. It might be the z-axis. It was the z-axis. Perfect. I actually might want to do it a little less. Something like that will do. See how that's kind of going down the line with it? Now our hair particles that we have 2,000 of these with 100 children all associated with it. We need to kind of match the thickness that we would otherwise get on these kind of like strands here. Also less orange, like these are pretty orangey. So let's go in and then change the color value here to be something a little more blonde, I think. And then we're going to go over to our hair particle settings themselves. And then we're going to change the hair shape on it to make them a little more thick. So we'll change the root here to be something like a 3 millimeters. You can already see that's making them look a lot more gruff. I'm going to go and just save that. That's honestly all we really had to do. And if we wanted to, for this one, we can actually do random roughness. And we can increase that. It'll make different hair particles throughout have different amounts of shading to it. And if we really wanted to get granular with it, we could actually go in and add in a curve info and add in some settings to randomize the hair particles there. But I mean, for this render, it's kind of in the background and out of focus. So I'm not too concerned about it. Great. Now we just have to shade the background. We're not doing the pigmen back here, or whatever these guys are. They're not pigmen. What are these? They're not villagers. I haven't played Minecraft since like 2014, 2015. So I don't know. Are these the raider dudes? Wood panel. I'm pretty sure that's not how you spell panel. Call it wood wall. It's fine. And then let's go into here. We're going to go to texture haven. And we're going to find ourselves some nice wooden textures to use in the background. So let's click on the wood button here. And now if I drop these in, we can actually start to texture out the background, and then we can render it. And then guys, we can comp it. It's pretty crazy. Go to textures, diffuse. We'll do displacement over here. We'll do normals over here. And then we'll grab the roughness and bring that in as well. So that's great. Let's plug this directly into our base color that we have. Plug this into our roughness. I imagine that we're going to have some issues with the mapping on this, but it's we can just unwrap it. Should be pretty easy to do. Now, as with a lot of things, we did light our scene without the textures on it. So it's probably something that we're going to have to relight as far as the background is concerned. And that's fine. That's all part of the game here. But we kind of really first need to know how well everything is mapping in the background. So let's go to the background here and just view it. We're going to see what's going on. You could tell that we're getting some weird lines over here and then also here as well. So if we just go into edit mode, honestly, with this, we'll just select everything and then just do Smart UV Project. this will kind of fix a lot of our issues right off the bat and just give us an overall wooden texture that we can use. So now if we go view our principled BSDF, everything automatically is going to line up a lot better for us. The issue that we're going to run into is that our lighting that we're using for our zombie here is actually not affecting our background set. And that's kind of on purpose. Like we had done that on purpose because we wanted a very specific looking light for our characters. So now what we need to do is kind of light our background, and we can use our references to kind of see what's going to happen here. We also can use our practicals that are inside of our scene. So our practicals being our torches that we have there already are kind of lights that we can use as references for everything else. We already have this uplight going on back here. We can actually just increase it. That's going to kind of give us an overall glow effect that we were having happen on our background. I could just go into camera view and we can see more of like what's actually happening here. I'm going to pull this image up here just so I can check it out as I'm working on it. But essentially what we're going to do, I'm going to add in another area light probably. Go ahead and do that real quick. Just rotate that in. We're just going to give ourselves a little bit more of a top angle light. This is because we have all of these like boxing ring lights going on the zombie back here. There should be some spillage of that happening into the background. By the way, our wooden texture probably should also be on this guy. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Do Smart View V Project. And then honestly, this guy over here as well, just in case. But now with this, we can actually scale this up if we want to. We're just going to scale it out probably more than anything. And then we're going to increase the brightness here to a higher value. I'm first going to just make it like 100 or something like that to see what it looks like. We're just going to really lift this background as much as possible. I think we could probably take this wood wall effect as well. I'm probably going to duplicate it and call it wood torch. And then inside of our material for this wood torch, let's grab this diffuse. And then real quick, we're just going to add in a curve. And then this RGB curve, we can bring down the value of it quite a bit. Just a darker wood on the torch. And then we'll do the same thing over here, wood torch. We already have our fire that's going to be in there, and that's good. Everything kind of lines up a lot better now. And then now let's go ahead and just light everything. It's pretty red back there, so we might want to actually bring the saturation down a little bit on the lighting. And then even with this one, we might even counteract that red a little bit with maybe a little bit of moonlight. Just a little bit of blue that's kind of coming in. And again, might want to desaturate that light a little bit. It's a little red still. Let's call this wooden torch. I'm just going to tag these as wooden torch real quick. And then these are kind of like metallic. And then this will be like, let's do wooden torch as well, I suppose. For these guys, let's call these like metal brace. Let's bring the roughness a little bit down. We're just going to add in this kind of like somewhat metallic material back here. Let's go open up image texture here. And let's see. Let's use one of these guys. I think this might be nice to use. So let's plug him into our roughness. Yeah, that'll be cool. And then let's not make it super reflective, but we'll make the certain areas that are pretty reflective. So let's go to material preview here. We're going to open up a new surface imperfections, a 1K texture that you guys can go grab over on the Patreon. Go grab those now. That is a smudge, wajah. A smudgy is what we're going for. Maybe some stains. Let's do the stains, guys. Let's see, we're going to make this a little larger. Something like that's actually pretty cool. And then we're going to go into color ramp. Let's go and preview this color ramp real quick. I don't want the blacks here to be as black because we don't want it to be as reflective, essentially. And then what we'll do is we'll actually invert the white value here. And then let's make this very black. Let's just scrape down a little bit more. So now you got some really reflective spots, and then overall everything is kind of just somewhat rough. And then now we're going to use this metal brace on these other kind of things. So we'll just go Control L and we'll just do link materials. Save that. Beautiful thing, guys. Beautiful thing. Let's save for the billionth time in this last 2 seconds. And then go back to render view here. We're actually super close to being able to hit the render button, guys. Let's make sure nothing is off. That should be on. Think from an effects perspective. Yep, everything is on. Fantastic. Actually might... It's hard to tell because we have so many lights everywhere. This might actually be a hugely annoying for a moment. Let's duplicate this over here, rotate this around. Just trying to get a little bit more brightness on this side of the room. But yeah, practice is pretty much just it, dude. Like when it comes to learning anything, Blender or else, just practice. It's really what it is. Get your reps in. And yeah, and post your work, show it to people, get feedback. We have a Discord, link to that is in the description. I wish I could give you the link in the chat, but unfortunately right now Streamlabs is not working. But join the Discord and share your work there. That's also, I think, a very good suggestion, because then you can ask other people that are in the chat or right now even what they think about your work. I'm going to add a new material here, and we're going to change this out to principal volume. We need like a volume scatter node, I think. I'm going to into our settings here for our volume scatter, and then we're going to keep that density. Oh yeah, plug this automatically over here into the volume button. But yeah, let's go ahead and change the density here to like a 5 maybe. It's a way bigger scene. Normally I have to make this a lot smaller. Oh, well, that's also my problem. 1 second. Let's keep this as a 1. And we're going to move this cube here over into our effects. Boom. Guys, it is now that scene from Warfare where it was after the explosion happened and you can't see anything. Also, makes more sense. We've got ourselves a zombie inside of a creepy... Dude, actually, this actually looks pretty cool. Not gonna lie, it looks pretty cool, guys. It's not what we're going for, but it looks pretty cool. Let's change the density value to be a lot smaller. Might even need to be smaller than this. Okay, let's do that again. 0.03. Okay, let's grab this effects here, and we're gonna probably make this a 0.01. It's a bit much still. I think we just want a light amount of fog on the top here. I think we're ready to render, boys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to solid view right now and hit the save button. We're going to go to our output folder. We're rendering this out as HD, which is totally fine. We don't need to do 4K renders on a live stream. That's just nutty. Okay. We're going to our view layer options. We're going to turn a few different things on because I know we're going to be doing a decent amount of comping to make this look better. First of all, turning on normals. Okay. That's kind of important. We don't need mispass. We don't need zpass. Those are fine. We can leave those unchecked. But what is more important for that is scrolling down and turning on both objects and materials. This will make life so much easier later on inside of comping, is just having those crypto mats turned on. Perfect. So under our render settings, we're going to go over here. We're going to uncheck this PNG. PNGs don't do anyone any good. Okay. We're going to change this to OpenEXR multi-layer. But yeah, so OpenEXR multi-layer. Now we're going to keep overwrite check because we're not doing out of sequence. We're also not using a render farm, so it doesn't really matter. We're going to keep the render percentage at about 100% here. We're going to actually see how long it takes to render this. If it says it's going to take a very long time, then we're not going to do 100% render on stream today. And I'm not coming back, so we're going to do a half res render, comp the half res version. Then later I'll do the full res and then update that and post that on the Discord and all that jazz. For color management, I'm going to override it just to ensure that what I have in here is correct. And all I'm doing is using ACCG, which is behind my fat head right now. So let's go ahead and disable my face. So that way you guys can actually see what's going on here. But I am using an ACES CG color management in both Blender as well as Nuke. It doesn't matter really what color management you use, as long as you use the same config file in your comp as well as you use inside of Blender. And let's just hit the render button while we're sitting here, guys. We'll go to output and import this EXR. We're going to go to 2 screens, so that way we can actually work on this thing. And then we're going to go preview what we've got. I'm going to use a shuffle node, and then this shuffle node, let's also set that to 1. We're going to set this to combined. And then, of course, this is tagged as scene linear. And if you want to double check it, you can also make sure that it says ACES CG. Now, my scene linear is ACES CG, so it's the same thing. It doesn't really matter. Next up is going to be the actual work that we're going to be doing. First of all, I kind of want to do a few things. So we're going to use a roto paint node. It's just kind of bothering me, some of this side of things. If I use a regular paint node here and then we just select some of this green, I'm going to change the opacity to be something really small. We're just going to kind of try to remove as much as possible. Remove some of this reflective stuff. If this was animated, it wouldn't be as good to do it this way, but also the same breath, if this was animated, I'd probably be rendering out passes and then just re-render this out without this like reflectiveness that's in here. So, you know, it is what it is. Like, it's just the fact that I'm doing this on a live stream that I'm going to have to do a little bit of some cheat codes to get the render to be exactly perfect. Paint on some lips here, which I think I forgot to do in 3D, but it's okay. We could do that here in 2D as well. There's maybe what I'm going to do is let's add an additional roto paint here. And then we're going to go to the paint on this. And then let's just make this kind of like somewhat darker and change the opacity to 0.01. I want to add in some shading to the side of this chicken head. I kind of want to add some shading to the side of the zombie head as well. So let's do that. Could do this with normals, but you could also not do it with normals. So it's really up to you on how you want to do it. Cool. So we have some paint out work. There are kind of like lighting adjustments that we're doing here. All right, so we're going to do a few things here. So now that we did our paint out work that's going on right there, we're going to do a few things just to make the fire in the background glow a little more and give a little more life to everything. So let's go ahead and add in a glow right now to this. I'm going to change this tolerance to be something way smaller. Essentially what we're doing, we'll click effect only so we can kind of see what it's doing. We're going to use the tolerance to basically only want, kind of like in a general way, this area here. And then we're going to change the brightness to be like half brightness. Like, we really don't want it to be super bright or super saturated. It's just going to help us add a little bit of extra realism to the atmosphere of the scene. So then if we take this and then we merge this back on top of everything, probably also just set the mix value here to like a 0.4, and then we'll do a plus, and we're just going to add that back over top of everything. And that's going to kind of like lift everything and give it just a little bit more of an atmospheric effect to it. Now, the fire itself, we're going to want to have like a little bit extra spiciness to the fire. So let's go ahead and go back to the tolerance here. Set the tolerance to like a 0.5. And again, if we use the effect, kind of see the areas in which the most brightness is happening on our image. And we even might want to target specifically just those edges a little bit more. We don't want too much of this side of the zombie here selected. And then, of course, with our brightness, let's change this to like a 0.75. Probably same thing with the saturation. Just do a 0.75. And then, of course, we already have effect only. So then we'll just merge that back over top of everything. And we're going to use a plus. And then now with this plus, we can change the mix value of this plus to be a little bit less if we want. Like, really what we're doing is we're adding in this little extra glow that's kind of happening on the inside here, specifically on the edges of our bright parts of our image, as well as the edges of our fire right there. So pretty much everything there is just kind of getting a little bit of a lift. And then, of course, we're going to probably just add another blur node, and then we could just set this to a value of like 300. This is going to be a general overall glow on everything. We just want to merge that back over top of our image again. So if we do that, this is going to give us some more atmosphere. Now, This is great, but we don't want this much atmosphere, right? So we probably bring this down, this value down to be something a lot smaller. This is going to kind of like give us that more glow effect of like having like a fog or something like that in our scene. So obviously the less it is, the less atmosphere it'll feel like that's inside of your environment. So you don't want it to be too high, because again, that's not the point of this image. He's not in a very atmospheric, heavy, dense room, but we do want to give it a little bit of lighting bloom to everything that's going on inside of the scene. Next up, we're going to go down the line here. Probably want to do a few things with his eyes. So let's grab some crypto mats here. We're going to do some crypto mats, and we're going to specifically, let's just try to keep this a little bit more organized. We'll hide the input there for this guy. This crypto mat, we can actually select the materials or select the objects. Right now it's on objects, but if we do materials, you notice that the eyes are the same. So let's go ahead and select these eyes here, and let's go ahead and make some adjustments to it. Now we're probably going to want a few different crypto mats. So let's add some more crypto mats in here that will allow us to target different things. So this one right here will be the skin. We want specifically the skin. And maybe we select these parts of the skin too. And in which case, actually, let's go ahead and clear this and then do specifically material. Those are the arms. That's the face. And then now if we go into our actual thing here, we're going to add in a grade node, and we specifically want the skin crypto mat that we created here. And then now we can go ahead and adjust the white point of this to have a little bit more of that kind of like yellowish look that we were hoping for in the first place. And probably give a little bit more warmth. And then this, let's go ahead and add just like a little dot down here just to keep things a little bit more organized. And probably just another dot there. That's fine. Let's use another grade node now. Probably want the blacks of his eyes to be a lot darker. So if we go with the color ramp now and plug that into this crypto mat, allow us to target more of the contrast on the blacks of his eyes and like give us a little bit more, it's too hazy before, and that probably was because of our atmosphere that we were adding into the shot. We actually might want this whole glow thing to happen after the fact. So probably move that down here. And then now this is going to give us the ability to make a little bit more corrections on the eyes if we want to. That's interesting. See, we want the shuffle. I want to remove the channels. One second. Let's see. We've got our shuffle that we've got going on there. We would first probably want to remove everything except for the RGBA. And keep RGBA. Beautiful. So that way when you get to the bottom of your list here, you're only keeping eyes in RGBA. That's probably actually the better way of going about that. Perfect. So that's how you would like just shuffle things in. I'm probably not going to do that for everything here because we're actually not sending this to a colorist, but I just wanted to show you guys that way if you do shuffle anything in, you're only giving them the RGBA channel as well as the eyes for your renders, and that's very useful for a DI, especially with animation, because they may want to change like the eyes or whatever it might be. Very, very useful. I like to sometimes just throw a ZD focus on this thing. Let's do this before the blur here. And we're going to change the value of this ZD focus. So right now the size is set to like a 5. If you set it to like a 2, what you're going to do is you're going to create like a tiny little bit of a blur. It's pretty imperceptible, but what it's doing is it makes it feel more like it was photographed. The other way to do that, honestly, is we could use the virtual lens filter that you can get off of Nukepedia. And what you can do with this this is you can give like a few different effects. First of all, we could turn on a little bit of haze if we wanted to. And this will do the same thing as our glow down there. We'll do it in a different way. So actually, we're probably going to remove it this time. We're just going to use virtual lens on our render here. And then we'll probably turn on a little bit of a spherical aberration. And what that's going to do also is create a little bit of that aberration effect that's going on there. create a little bit of a chromatic aberration too. That's going to give us a little bit more of a highlight realistically there. I would say let's mix this in a little bit more. And then when we turn that off, we can see really what's going on there. Is it the mix that we want or the size? Probably the size down. Oh, I'm selecting the wrong crap anyways. Sorry. Do that. That. A little bit of haze. Probably mix that down a little bit more. Try out for the astigmatism. And now with this astigmatism, we're pretty close. I'm going to do the vignette through this. I usually do a separate vignette, but I think we could do a little bit of a vignette through this. Great. And then I think that's good. I don't want to add any halation. Next up, I'm just going to do a nice little lens distortion, and I'm going to actually do that before the virtual lens. So let's check that out real quick. And then I'm going to add a tiny bit of a lens distortion, not that much. And then let's do this as an anamorphic. And then let's do a redistort. Perfect. Now that with our glow effects going on there. Now let's go ahead and do regrain. And we'll change the grain size to be a lot smaller. Very subtle. Very subtle, but I like it. Great. And then there's a little bit more that I want to do up here. Let's add in a new roto paint here, and let's actually go preview this. We're going to do a 0.01, and then instead of an over, we're going to do a plus. And I kind of want to lift some of this area up, some of the highlights on his cheeks and such. So 0.01, and then maybe do, you know what, maybe an over should be fine. Kind of just want to paint in some highlights here. Kind of want to, there's another crypto matte I want to get. So let's do one more crypto matte. And we'll just go ahead and put them all the way down there. And we're going to select this chicken jockey, or the chicken itself. And let's do another color correction. This was just another issue I was running into with the chicken feathers. I just wasn't happy with how the shadows were. So we're just going to make it less contrasty. Or maybe we take the shadows and midtones. Is that what we want to do? Yeah, we'll just blow that out a little more. Oh, that looks so much better already. Let's keep that. But oh, you know what? I am kind of fine with how that lifts the side. I think that actually matches more what I'm going for. Now let's go check out the final image there. Oh, that's looking good, guys. Honestly, really simple comp because didn't really have to do too much. I do like how that lifts it up quite a bit. I might say the green. Yeah, I like that. That green's a little better. The shirt, maybe we can get a separate crypto matte for as well. Let's try that. So we just grab this crypto matte. Can't grab it for whatever reason. There we go. And plug him in. I want to get a material just for this t-shirt here. And let's use another grade node. Beautiful. Okay. And then we go into this. A couple things. We could probably just go to the white point and then just make this a little more blue. We're going for like a very specific Minecraft zombie blue color. I think that's going to do it right there. But these project files, of course, as with every other project file, is always going to be uploaded directly over to the Patreon. You guys can get the link to that is in the description below. And of course, make sure to hit the subscribe button if you guys aren't subscribed already. I want to give a special thanks to these wonderful people right here. There are Patreon members over on the Patreon. And these guys, like you guys could, if you wanted to, go grab these project files after it's completely finished. And once I have that all up on the Patreon here in a few minutes. But I'm really pleased with how this turned out, honestly. I had my doubts for a moment, but I'm thinking this worked out a lot better than for a moment. I feel like it's always a roller coaster of emotions for me when going through sculpting stuff, because not exactly a professional at sculpting, more in the world of comping. And but when doing this stuff, it's always fun because it's like there's that moment of fear that hits you and you're just like, oh crap, I do not know how I'm going to possibly finish this off. But you know what? It all worked out in the end, and I'm very pleased with how it turned out. Thank you guys for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next time. Stay creating, stay joining, do all that fun stuff. I'll talk to you later. Bye.